So, hey, by the way, buckle up, because you know how I talked into this microphone the whole time? Apparently, my microphone was...
So Is that why you said I was going to fucking hate you?
Yeah, so don't hate me yet. No, I'm really talking into it. So, okay, so I called you. Well, you called me, and I said hello, and I checked all my crap, and I looked, and I was like, okay, yeah, microphone's coming through, the input's coming through the microphone, speakers are coming through my headset, because I have to, my other stuff's still broken. This is the same headset I used the last time, when my headphones broke in the middle of the thing. So I'm looking at this, and I look over at Audacity, I don't know, too late, I guess. I didn't really notice it early on, but I looked over at Audacity, and I was like, this seems like really low levels. And then I looked, and I thought, I wonder... And then I brought down my headset microphone, and it got louder, and I went, fuck you. So I am talking, you are listening to me, my dulcet tones, through my microphone. But Audacity is not taking the input in from my microphone. It's taking it in from my headset, which was not in front of my mouth the majority of this episode.
Fucking great. Thanks for the intro, by the way. That'll be the intro of the episode, to explain why the audio quality is fucking garbage.
No, the intro was you said a good bit at the beginning.
About Moon Knight? Yeah, we'll save that for episode 2.
I have come on a mission of gravest consequence, for I am the Watcher, member of an ancient race far older than man. But though our power is great, we are pledged only to watch, never to interfere. But now mankind faces the greatest danger it has ever known. The danger of
the Watchers of Earth 199,999.
Welcome to the Watchers of Earth 199,999. I am your host, Andrew, and joining me as always is my co-host, Seth.
I can't swear because my father-in-law is here.
Our third co-host couldn't be here today because he can't stop swearing, and Seth's father-in-law is here.
Who's our third co-host?
Joe. Oh, did I not say Joe? Doesn't matter.
You
Who
didn't.
cares?
It could have been anybody.
Could have been anybody.
Could have been
Any
Joe
foul-mouthed
Pete.
nobody.
Joe, Pete, Zach.
Our fourth co-host, Uatu, is here, but is sworn only to watch and never interfere.
Good for him. So today, we watched Moon Knight, episode 1, and only episode 1, which first aired March 30th, 2022. Andrew, in this episode, Stephen Grant learned that he may be a superhero, but he may also share a body with a ruthless mercenary. So, Andrew, in a sentence or less, what did you think?
It was fine. It started off on the wrong foot. Towards the end, I was a little more intrigued, but I think I am also more intrigued in the show I was writing in my head and not the show that I'm actually going to get. Seth, what did you think?
I think it was fine.
And it's really hard to judge this on one episode, so everything we say, take with a grain of salt.
Here's all of my asterisks. I don't care about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Everyone who listens to the show knows that. As someone who loves Egyptian mythology, I never got into Moon Knight.
I've read a handful of Moon Knight, and it's all been recent stuff. And honestly, I think the stuff that this is really heading towards, I think all comes from modern stuff. Like, I don't know much about Moon Knight outside of what I've read in the modern stuff. And I think the Moon Knight has a multiple personality disorder is a relatively recent addition. I think before he was just the guy with multiple secret identities.
He was just kind of, as far as I was aware, he was just always kind of crazy.
I think that's a recent
That's
thing.
probably not appropriate to say. I don't know. But he was always just like a little insane. That was kind of his shtick. But this episode, for being 45 minutes, this episode felt really long. And a lot of it was kind of stuff I didn't really care about. Do we want to jump in? I don't know.
Yeah, we can just jump in. That's why I
was putting asterisks down, but sentence or less, I found it fine, if not boring. Or albeit boring is maybe a better turn of phrase. So let's just jump in here. You'll put your cut right here. I think Oscar Isaac was good. I think
Oscar Isaac is not great in this. But I don't know how much of it is him and how much of it is maybe script or lack thereof. He has a lot of narrating what he's doing. Or narrating just he talks a lot. Like when he's searching his room, he's like, oh, what's this? Oh, let's find out what this is. And he just keeps fucking talking. And he does it throughout the episode. And I was just like, this feels like amateur hour kind of stuff. I need to fill my actions with words.
That felt fine to me because it felt he felt scattered.
I will say,
Which
like, I
is
think
fair.
that was a choice because he's kind of like a scattered person, but it was really annoying to me and distracting.
See, what was really annoying and distracting to me was Khonshu. I really hated his voiceover stuff, especially in like his first bit where he's getting shot at in like the countryside, and Khonshu is like, "Wake up, idiot! Give me Mark."
I don't really mind or care about that. The stuff that I was most interested in was the bits of like time displacement where he would just like wake up and stuff was different. I liked that. I just didn't like everything that led up to it with him kind of like, I know he's supposed to be like, we're not necessarily getting an origin, which is nice, but in lieu of that, we're getting
Nothing.
the main character is the point of entry character while also being the seasoned character. Like he is a superhero, just didn't know that he was a superhero. So like he's the point of entry character who has to learn what's going on, but he's also the character doing this stuff. And while I think that's novel when written down as a elevator pitch, in execution, it just means I watch a guy being confused a ton, and it's really, really annoying to deal with.
I started another TV show
In the middle of this one.
in the middle of this one.
Tell me about the Book of Boba Fett.
Kirsten has read the book of
Boba Fett.
Pachinko.
Yeah. You were telling me about that. Is that good?
Well,
We'll get to it.
because that's what this episode's about. Kirsten read Pachinko and really liked it. And I saw Apple TV was getting Pachinko. I had seen that it was received very, very well. So we sat down to watch the first episode. We only seen one episode. I think 3 or 4 are out. I think the 4th one comes out today. And I know it's a multi-generational story, and that's fine. And I went into this first episode knowing that it would probably not really do much other than set everything up. And when it finished, Kirsten asked what I thought, and I said, I'm glad that you, I had talked to Kirsten about Pachinko when she was reading it, and I was glad I had some sort of context, but it was fairly boring, even going in knowing it was setting things up. I just didn't really feel like, I thought it was fine. I'd watch more.
I think
it was
that
just something
stuff is always true and worth bringing up, but that is something I've noticed with you. A lot of times when we watch stuff, the pilot is just kind of like, yeah, it was fine, but it wasn't doing anything. I remember Game of Thrones when we watched that, and you were like, yeah, it was all just leading up to that final bit that made me interested in watching more. And while I don't disagree with that, that's kind of just like, for me, that's just like, that's part of a TV show. You watch a lot of episodes and like, there's a lot of setup, and since it's a TV show and not a movie, you know, the first episode is what maybe the first 15 minutes of a movie would be, and instead that is, 40 minutes.
I guess I just feel like... So I was kind of expecting... Well, I guess I wasn't expecting it. But while I didn't go into this, to Moon Knight, thinking, okay, it's going to set everything up. It kind of did. But unlike Pachinko, I didn't really come out of this being like, ooh, I can't wait to see what happens next. And some of that's on me. Again, I'm more interested in something different in Pachinko than I am in the nth MCU.
I will say, I don't feel like this feels like the nth MCU approach to things. As low as a bar as it could possibly be, I feel like this is different from other MCU stuff. If I did not know that Moon Knight is a Marvel character, this does not feel like a Marvel show in the same way literally every other Marvel thing feels like a Marvel thing.
I think that's fair. And a lot of it is just, we kind of joked about it at the end of the last episode where it's just like, we can both, and I hope we're wrong, but we can both sit here and be like, yeah, this is different. And then 6 episodes from now be like, this is the same old bullshit.
We said Loki was different. We said WandaVision is different. We even said a little bit of like Falcon and Winter Soldier was different just because it started off as feeling like, oh, it's taking a slower pace. But by the end, they all turn into the same shit.
And so that's kind of what I mean by it's going to be like, again, it's my fault. It's me as a viewer. I am trying to go into these as unbiased as I can. I just don't care for this stuff. And so at the end of it, I didn't really feel like, ooh, I want to see where this is going. And I think while it was set up, and like you said, that's kind of how TV shows work, and I think that's kind of fair too, I just didn't really find it that interesting. Again, like you said, Oscar Isaac just kind of spends a lot of, 40 minutes or however long he's on screen just kind of mumbling around. And this felt really repetitive.
Yes. I was really, bored is probably not the right word, because you said bored, and I thought, I wasn't bored. But I was just kind of like irritated and ready to move on. But by the end of it, so the show I am interested in that I know is not the show that this is going to be. I know it's not. And I know it's just going to turn into the same Marvel shit. But I was really, really interested in a show about a second person viewing of a superhero. Where
that's totally not going to be it.
I was really interested. Like I said, I don't care about Stephen Grant. I find him absolutely irritating to watch. But I was really more interested in watching him just kind of like pop in and out of scenarios where superhero stuff was happening, where he like pops in and he's like in a suit for a second and then he pops back out, or like, you know, at that bit where Mark is in the mirror talking to him, I would like for him to like they swap places and he's in the mirror and he's secondhand watching something where everything's happening in the background to him. And I'm way more interested in a superhero show like that. But once we know what his deal is, which we do by the end of this episode, I feel like it's just going to be watching him Moon Knight stuff. We're probably going to get more episodes that are all focused on Mark and what Mark's doing either via flashbacks, or we don't cut away when Steven passes out. And I just don't care about that. I was way more interested in this like weird approach to a superhero show, kind of like it's different from Gotham Central, but kind of like Gotham Central is a superhero show or a comic that takes place in the superhero universe, but is not about the superheroes. Mm-hmm. And so I was interested in this thing about a show about a superhero and about that superhero's alter ego, but it is literally about his alter ego and watching everything from his point of view secondhand. And I know that's not what this will be.
Like you said, Stephen Grant is kind of the audience and I think these 6 episodes are just going to be him uncovering who Mark.
You're probably right, yeah.
What's his name? Mark
Spector.
How on the nose. Mark Spector is that way at the end of 6 episodes. They can be like, and now he's in the MCU. Like, now he can be in movies because the audience knows who he is. Again, I didn't mind Oscar Isaac bumbling around, except that he did it for 40 minutes without much of really doing anything. I think it was kind of interesting when he found the phone.
But it leads to absolutely nothing.
It leads to absolutely nothing.
It leads to him having like a weird freak out.
Same thing with the time displacement stuff. Like, it's neat, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It doesn't do anything interesting.
I disagree. I think I see what you're saying, and that like it's not doing anything novel with it. It literally is just time displacement. But I guess at this point I don't need it to do anything more than he doesn't know what's going on, and he like kind of like phases in and out, and the situation is different now. I'm fine with that. Now, if it were going on for 6 episodes, and I guess this is my thing, like you're like, it was the pilot and it was boring, and I'm like, it's the pilot, that's what a pilot does. If we're 6 episodes in and it's literally him just waking up and he's covered, his fists are in blood, and he's like, oh no, what happened? I'd be like, boring, do something interesting with it.
And some of this does come from the fact that, again, just as I think Oscar Isaac's bumbling is repetitive in these 40 minutes, I think the time displacement stuff becomes repetitive in these 40 minutes. When he first shows up in the countryside and he like runs into Ethan Hawke, kind of interesting. During the car chase, not as interesting.
I guess the countryside where he runs into Ethan Hawke is literally him just waking up somewhere different. The time displacement stuff doesn't actually happen until right before the car chase and then the car chase. And then it only happens like 3 times, I think. And they're all relatively minor.
Also, real bad CGI.
I think mediocre CGI.
Distracting CGI.
Yes. Noticeable CGI.
Noticeable CGI, which I will say that noticeable CGI is not great CGI.
My thing is real bad music at the beginning. There are so
real bad music at the beginning.
So much music.
I'm not sure what the point is.
When I said it started off on the wrong foot, I was talking about there are like 3 different... It's like Suicide Squad. There's like 3 different songs in 3 minutes. And then it goes on for a while with nothing. And then the car thing happens and it has that wake me up. Which, like, in the trailer, when that happens, I'm like, I get it. Wake me up. He's waking up and it's a different situation. The song lyrics have wake me up. I get it. And that's fine. It's a fine joke. When the entire car chase just keeps having that song playing, I'm like, I get it. Can we move on?
No.
The music in this was bad. I did not like it.
But it's weird. Going back to me being bored, like, we watch a lot of these 2.5, 3-hour movies, and we sit here and we go, oh my god, like, I was so close to being like, we have to be almost done. I think we did that with whatever Electra or something we were talking about. I think we're gonna, this is released before Electra, so buckle up for those listeners. But there was a moment, so I looked it up, because I'm on a tight schedule today. I'm the bad guy today. I'm on a tight schedule today, so I was like, well, at least it's 45 minutes, it's not like a 2-hour movie. That'll help. And during this, I don't remember the scene, but at some point during this, I thought, is this an 1.5-hour pilot?
I was thinking that too.
It was going so slow. It wasn't going towards it wasn't like, it didn't tell its own story. This felt like the first half of a movie.
That's kind of how I felt at the beginning, where I kept thinking, like, how long has this been going? Because it feels like it's been going on for a while, and at any moment, when he woke up in the countryside and then the car chase was happening, I thought he was gonna, like, it was gonna cut during the car chase. And then
I thought, Moon Knight. And
then I was like thinking, like, is Moon Knight going to happen in this episode? And that's another thing, like, I was like, are we going to see Moon Knight? And then we did. And I get why, as like a TV show, why we would do that, but I feel like if this were a movie, that bit at the end where he becomes Moon Knight instead would have been him passing out and then waking up in his bed. Or maybe we see like the dog get like kicked out of the bathroom and then he wakes up. Or he sees like a flash of something as he's in the mirror and then I don't think we would have gotten the money shot like we did at the end of this. And like, it's cool to see the suit. Again, noticeable CGI, but it's fine. But I was just like, I don't know, you blew your load. Like, I get that you need to show it to get people interested.
I was going to say, you need to show it.
Oh, you do. But for me, personally, I was just like, I didn't need to see it yet because I didn't get anything out of that. For me, I didn't get anything. I was just like, and we see the suit. Neat.
I think it was because I was already just kind of like, if you're not going to do anything, just turn off and get to the stuff that, you know what I mean? Like, and again, I checked it because I was just like, this is such a weird first episode for me. But I checked it thinking, did they release like 2 episodes at once? Like, are you supposed to binge the first 2?
I was thinking that as well.
But they didn't. And it feels like half of a story so far.
I guess it feels like a pilot, but as far as these Marvel things go, not all of them have been 2 episodes.
And I guess, is this the first pilot that we have a new character?
Yes.
Because at least before you could be like, the audience knows who Scarlet Witch is, the audience knows who...
I mean, Hawkeye, you had to learn, the pilot was learning who Kate was, but I guess you also had Hawkeye there.
Yeah, to fill up time.
But like, I felt like it did a pretty good job of introducing who she was and then kind of getting to it. And then ending at like a satisfying bit. But for this, it feels like it kind of just like, it cuts. And then I was like, I don't know what else I wanted. I just know that like, it didn't feel right.
Unsatisfied.
Yeah. It just felt like, and now. And I was like, okay. And like, again, for a bingeable show, I probably wouldn't think anything of it. Like if it were a Netflix show or it was all just released at once, I'd be like, yeah, of course. That's what they all do. They end on a hook so that they make sure that you watch the next one. But for this, I was just like, I could see people not caring because it's a Marvel thing and also because, I don't know, it's weird and, I don't know, you get to see the superhero and that's probably enough for a lot of people. But I could also see a lot of people being like, I don't know if I'll tune in next week.
And I think some of that is, I mean, I don't know what the Marvel fans want or are like, but I think some of that is because it's a new character that you have to introduce. And I agree with you. I think I could see people sitting here and being like, if he shows up in the movie, I'll get it. Like, I don't need to deal with 5 more hours of this. But something else I wanted to bring up, actually in the Elektra episode that people will listen to in like 12 weeks. So, in the old stuff, and they did it in the Spider-Man stuff, the Raimi Spider-Mans too, and we've talked about how much we disliked, like, the new Marvel Studios title. They used to have the overlapping comic pages, and now they have, like, the movie clips.
Nutshot?
Yeah. But, like, watching Elektra, and I guess I didn't notice it as much in Spider-Man, but, like, I liked how the comics were Elektra comics. Whereas this, again, it just feels so bland and lifeless to just get, like, here's clips of movies I watched. Like, I know it's a universe stuff, but it would have been neat to... I like hearkening back to the origins and being like, we appreciate these being comics.
Yeah.
Like, we're not hiding from that. But, I don't know, do you want to run through the plot? I don't know...
So, Stephen Grant is...
We've only been talking for like 10 minutes and I'm like tapped out.
Stephen Grant is like some guy that works at a museum and you think he's
not
like
just a museum, the Museum of London. London Museum.
It sets you up to think that, he's like a big Egyptology expert, but then it turns out that he just works in the gift shop and just
a schmuck. He's
just kind of a schmucky loser, but he like wakes up in the middle of the night and disappears, and so he has like an ankle chain and sand that he puts around his bed, and he like tapes his door so that he knows if he leaves or something.
Oh, you didn't start off with Ethan Hawke putting glass in his shoes.
Oh yeah, Ethan Hawke puts glass in his shoes, and he like smashes a glass with one swing, and it like crumples into fucking dust.
He's strong. He's so strong.
And there's also like a lot of jarring music through all this.
Do you know who he is?
Ethan Hawke?
Yeah. Were we introduced
or
to him?
Who he's playing? I don't know.
Do you know who Ethan Hawke is? Do you know Ethan Hawke?
I'm sure they say his name like when he comes out. I have no idea.
I don't remember anybody's name. I know Mark, but I forgot Spectre.
I don't think they ever say Spectre in this. They just say Mark.
But like, there's the mom. There's like, I guess his boss is Donna, and like. But
I didn't absorb anyone's names other than Steven and Mark.
That's the problem.
And those are ones I also already knew. Ethan Hawke, I didn't know his name is Arthur Harrow. I have no idea if he's like, I assume he's a comic book character. I don't know who he is.
I don't know.
I'm sure they said his name. I don't know what it was, but I don't know.
But like, I feel like I didn't remember anybody's name.
To be fair, there's only 2 characters to remember. Like, I think it says something that we don't remember Ethan Hawke's name, but like, I don't know. The only other character that matters is Mark.
Yeah, which I guess
not
is
Mark,
another
Steven.
problem. I guess is another like.
I guess I don't think that's a problem. It's not a show that
I'd
has
like
a ton
to
of
know-
characters right now.
I guess I'd like to get into like who are the secondary characters and who's his. I don't know. He talks to his mom like.
I don't
like,
think his mom's a
things-
character. I think that is just. I think that's some bit to establish that he has a life, and I guarantee that we learn that Steven isn't the dominant personality. Which this is a bit of stuff that might be proven wrong later. But like Steven seems to have a life. He has a mom that sends him postcards, and he calls every day. I almost guarantee that it's not going to be like that is Mark is sending him postcards to make him think that he has a family, and he is calling a burner phone somewhere. Although he does talk to his mom on the phone after the date, apparently. So I guess maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think he does.
Yeah, maybe he just leaves a voicemail. I thought he was actually speaking to her because I thought he
So
responded to
you're telling me that Mark, who is Steven, pretends.
So what I'm getting at is if that is the case, which I think it is, it doesn't make sense because I have no idea what this Steven personality grants anyone. And if it is just like he has another personality and it just exists, so it's gotta exist, I don't know why you wouldn't bring him in. I don't know why you would set up an entire elaborate fake life for him. And I could be wrong. Maybe it's not an elaborate fake life. Maybe Steven is the main person. Everyone else is a split personality. And that's why Steven has a life. And they all have to preserve Steven's life because he's the main one that's usually around.
See, I feel like
I don't know. But at this point, it's all speculation on my part. But I just don't care about Steven. I don't care about his weird little life. But it seems like, based on the fact that Mark sets up a date with him, that Steven has this phone call and postcards that he's putting up, seems to be that there's a lot set up to establish that he has a life. There's the goldfish that Mark very clearly buys another one because I assume it died the 2 days that they were gone.
Yeah, I guess for me in secondary characters, I just kind of felt like, again, Mark sets up the date with the tour guide, and he misses it, and like he buys flowers and stuff, and he leaves a voicemail to his mom about like, he's trying to make up for it or whatever. But none of that matters because the only point all that does is say, you've been gone for 2 days. And I guess that's kind of disappointing to me because it's just like, oh, I thought we were going to like have introduce some sort of people that are, involved in these characters. But they're not. I guess, like I was saying, it just feels like they spend a lot of time. And maybe again, this is a personal thing, and it's a problem with me, not necessarily the show, but I guess I just kind of thought that they were introducing like side characters and people that were involved in the story and stuff like that, but they just kind of wasted a bunch of time to say, you lost 2 days, which only begs weirder questions of just like, if Mark set up this date, one, how did Stephen Grant not realize it was, I guess he's scattered, but he has a phone.
That's another thing is like, he shows up at the date and then he learns that it's Sunday, and I'm like, you have a phone. I feel like you would have seen the date on there. Maybe
there would have been a reservation.
Maybe you wouldn't register it, but it just seems weird, especially his like weird like time thing where he's like, oh, I have a date. And it's like, okay, wouldn't you look at a clock and like maybe see the date? Or maybe like they say he basically stays there until closing. And it's like, you wouldn't try calling her sooner than that. She wouldn't try getting a hold of you, which again could go back to Mark. Maybe Mark deleted her text and deleted her voicemail or whatever, where she called him a scumbag. But like, I didn't think they were setting up secondary characters, and I don't care about secondary characters. It felt like it was more just like establishing Steven has a life, and then, Steven's life is going crazy now, which I'm fine with. I just don't care.
But I guess, like you were saying, if Mark set all this stuff up, which he did, that's not an assumption. Does Steven have a life? Mark's trying to give him a life, but like...
And it comes back to why. And the only reason why that I can think of, unless there's some special secret to Steven, is maybe that Steven is the dominant personality. I have no idea.
I would assume Steven's the dominant personality.
I would, except that I feel like it's setting up so much of his, like, again, it's, I guess not so much, it's just his mom. But that felt like a weird addition that it felt like he's probably not real. He probably doesn't have a real life.
Again, you didn't really take much from it, but like, they spend a lot of time dealing with Donna in like a boss figure, like a supervisor role. And I assume, since it's all Egyptian stuff, I assume they're not done with the museum. Mm-hmm. There's going to be this whole big final fight.
I didn't feel like they set up Donna for anything other than it's just like he has a shitty boss. Not even like a shitty boss. He has a boss. And he doesn't like a boss, and it doesn't seem like his boss matters. It's just like he has a job where he's low on the totem pole. All it felt like to me. Didn't feel like she was set up to be anything other than part of his job, to show that his job is in his life is unfulfilled. That's all she was. I didn't see anything more than that.
See, and I guess my problem is that, yeah, they do that, and then they give her, like, another 10 minutes, and, like, multiple other scenes where she's just like, remember, you're on, like, you can give him a shitty job without wasting time on, like, same thing. Hey, we need to tell the audience that he loses 2 days of time. Why don't we just set up, like, a weird narrative that takes 10 minutes to get this one line out? You know what I mean?
I agree.
That's my problem with
I guess
it.
I don't care. Like, you say it wasted a ton of time, and I think, like, yes, the episode was slow and a little boring, but I didn't feel like it devoted a ton of time to his job. It just showed through the monotony and slow, boring bit at the beginning, we see that he has a monotonous, slow job, but he doesn't seem super bogged down by it. So it's not the sort of, like, I have a shitty job where he'd sit and talk to someone and say, like, I have a shitty job. It was more just like, he doesn't have a very interesting life. He's completely placated by his uninteresting life. And so that's all I took from it.
I guess, like you said, I mean, Oscar Isaac doesn't carry this for 45 minutes. And I guess I just wanted somebody else for him to bounce off of. But anyways.
I don't know. Before we went on this whole tangent, I was going through the plot, and I guess it doesn't matter. He wakes up in the middle of a countryside somewhere, meets a cult leader who demands a scarab that he apparently stole. Like, there's a voice that keeps telling him not to give him the scarab, and his body's not obeying his commands, but not enough that he can't, like, at least somewhat control his body. And then he blacks out when a bunch of people grab him, and then he's covered in blood, and he beat them all up. And then he steals a bus somehow because they left the keys in, and they chase after him, and he passes it out a bunch of times, learning that he, like, stole a gun and shot a guy, and then he's driving backwards down the road. And then he wakes up in his apartment, thinks it's all fine, goes to the date, turns out it's 2 days later, and then I don't know, the cult leader shows up. I didn't know what was happening when the cult leader shows up at the museum. And then it turns out that a whole bunch of people are in this cult, which is always what happens with cults. And they all have a tattoo. But each one of them will stop and show Mark the tattoo as if, like, he needs to know why they're, like, I don't know, standing in his way or something. Like, I get that it's for the viewer, but it's annoying and stupid that they, like, there's a lady just walking in the museum and she turns and, like, glares at him and then shows her tattoo. And it's like, I get it, whatever.
Yeah, it feels like a real, like, talk down to the audience moment.
And I liked Harrow's little thing where he like grabs your hands and then he puts his cane like on your wrists and then
has a scale,
rotates, and then he has a scale that'll tip and then turn green or red for very clear audience cue to know whether it's good or bad to dictate your life. And if you're red, I guess you just die. You like shrivel up and die. But with Mark, when he does it to, or not Mark, when he does it to Steven, it like keeps oscillating, which I figured it would because he has multiple lives or whatever.
I figured it would be perfectly balanced.
But like it keeps rotating, and then he says something. I think he says
he's full of chaos.
Oh, chaos. They said you're full of scales. And I was like,
you're
what the fuck does that mean?
You're full of scales, Steven.
Okay, that makes more sense. But then he's like, just let him go. And I was like, okay, so I guess they need him for something. But it turns out they don't. It's just so that they can have a cool scene at the end where a monster attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
And he like sicks a giant jackal on him. And then in the bathroom, his reflection talks to him. And then he says, give up your body to me. And he does. And then a costume magically appears on him. Which I thought the scarab was going to do that. But I guess not. Maybe the scarab did it. I don't know. But then he beats him up. Bada bing. Also, what was when he woke up in the countryside and he just like, his jaw was unhooked. And then he just like pops it back into place. And he's like, all right, I'm fine with this now.
Well, he's a big, strong man. We were trying to figure out if Steven or Mark is numero uno. But, like, is Mark just Moon Knight? Like, I know Mark wouldn't waste any time at the end, but he's just, like, it feels like every time we've seen quote-unquote Mark in this first episode, it was Moon Knight.
Again, I don't know the real deal. I don't know how it all pans out.
Why does Mark have a phone if he doesn't use it?
I mean, maybe he does. He just hasn't used it in months, but...
What was the thing with the floor underneath the rug? I thought that was going to be...
I thought he was going to open something...
I thought that was like the way out of the apartment.
I thought I saw...
Which is why the door...
Oh, I just assume he just tapes the door back up. But like, I thought...
Because Mark's not a fucking idiot.
I thought I saw something poking up out of the floorboards. I thought I saw like a photo or a piece of paper or something, but I guess I didn't because then he just moves the table. He was just seeing the scratch lines from the table being pushed.
Oh, I guess you move the table to step up to it to get to
the
so. Wall. That's probably it.
But I don't know. Mark seems to be Moon Knight. Moon Knight and Mark are one and the same. In the comics, I know he
But I guess that can't be true, because Mark asks out the tour guide.
Yeah.
He asks her out as Moon Knight.
No, you're asking if Mark and Moon Knight are one and the same and that there is no...
I was saying that, yeah, every time we saw
no.
quote-unquote Mark, it was Moon Knight. Because during all the time displacement stuff, that's all Moon Knight when Mark finally at the
I don't
end
think
is
so.
in the
Especially, even without that bit that you're saying, I don't think he's putting on the full costume and then beating up his guards in front of Ethan Hawke, because then he would definitely know something's up with this guy. I mean, I guess you know enough that he beat up a whole bunch of people and
Then
drove
why would he
a truck
do it for the
backwards.
Jackal?
What do you mean? Why would he turn into Moon Knight for the Jackal?
Yeah.
Because it's a fucking Jackal monster, dude. I assume
But
Moon
if
Knight
Mark
has...
can just beat him...
I assume Moon Knight has powers, as opposed to if he's just Mark, maybe he still has powers, maybe not. I don't know or care. I assume Mark is just a mercenary. He's a good fighter. Like, he can fight a bunch of people the same way, I don't know, Hawkeye could fight a bunch of people. But I don't think Mark necessarily could fight.
I mean, that's petty. I mean, it's also a show and a fun story to have your hero turn into a magical monster man to fight a magical monster. That was just me being petty.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not really much else to say, I guess.
There's not. I mean, really.
In the end, it was fine. Like, it is a pilot. And so I guess for you go, it was a pilot, and these are the things that are wrong with it. And for me, I go, it was a pilot, and I guess I also say these are the things that are wrong with it, but I'm just like, it's fine. Like,
But you're like, there's 5 more episodes for it to do what I want.
no, there's 5 more episodes for it to disappoint me. Let's not kid ourselves. I just think
I'm already disappointed at
there's
one.
5 more episodes for the specific problems I had in this one to not necessarily be the problems of the show.
I'm just going one episode at a time, man. Next episode, I'm going to pretend I didn't even watch this. I'm just going to be like, I don't understand who Steven is, because they didn't explain him in this episode. You're going to go,
Episode 2 is going to introduce all the secondary characters. You go, where's the main character?
You're going to have egg on your face when that tour guide woman that we were never introduced to and Donna are, like, a thing.
I have a weird feeling. The tour guide I don't think is anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of them shows a tattoo later and they're like, we're all part of the cult.
We're a cult. Ethan Hawke's so good. What was Ethan Hawke in? He was in some action movie, wasn't he?
So, Seth, give me 2 put-ups and a put down.
He was in Boyhood. That took 12 years to make.
It took 12 years to make.
He was in Training
It took
Day.
longer than the Great Wall of China!
It was a Training Day. How good is that? It took longer than it took to build the Great Wall of China. Oh, boy howdy.
Boy, hoodie.
Boy howdy. I was thinking of something Ethan Hawke, but I don't see it. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this crap. Okay, first put up is going to be, I thought it was swell when the plot slowly lunged forward. And by lunged, I mean...
Lurched?
Yeah, the other L word. When Stephen was like, was this a phone? And he called, then a woman called, and she was like, here's crap that doesn't matter, but it's gonna come back. Chekhov's phone call.
See, I did not care for the phone call.
I didn't either, but at least it was something. Something happened. We learned, like...
Your I don't know, grading
capacity
scale
of things happening.
for something is always so weird to me. It was even the same in Power Rangers. You're like, nothing happened. I'm like, I don't know, stuff happened. There's stuff.
But it was all boring.
I disagree. Like, I
At
think a
least
lot
this
of this episode is boring, but I think a lot of interesting things happened before that phone call. That phone call was, I didn't care at that point. I wanted more.
You wanted Moon Knight to show up and punch people and shoot blue lasers.
No,
in
I
his
wanted
face.
more stupid, like, flipping in and out of
But
time.
it didn't do anything.
I disagree. Like, I don't know. Fine. Fuck you, fuck me. It didn't do anything. But also, like, it did do things. Like, each time he woke up, something was different. The first time, there were a bunch of people unconscious and there was blood on his fist. The second time, he had a gun and it turns out the guy that was fighting him 2 seconds earlier was dead. The third time, he was driving backwards down the road. Are they huge? No, but each time something happened, something different, something interesting. The phone was nothing. He calls the phone and the lady's like, who is this? Is this Mark? And he's just like, why'd you call me Mark? And he stutters around and I was just like, I don't care. Hang up the phone. And then the fucking spooky monster man showed up in the hallways and I was like, this is kind of interesting. In the end, it didn't matter and I didn't really care, but I was like, this is kind of interesting. Something's happening. The phone call was not it. But
See,
I mean,
to me-
this is your put up, so why am I yelling at you?
See, to me, the put up... Okay, so we talked a tiny bit at the beginning about you being like, oh, I'd like to see a show like of Steven kind of watching the superhero stuff happen around him.
And this is also, in my defense, this is elevator pitch, because I know that that's probably not a show that could be executed.
Yeah, I really don't think it could be. But anyways, so the other thing... You're gonna hate me.
It's fine, I already do.
Well, oh, fuck you.
What?
This is the You're gonna fucking hate me, dude.
Why?
Get ready to modify this audio file. Anyways, I'll explain later. Just keep... Everything's cool. Everything's cool. So...
Don't look at the man behind the mirror, or behind the curtain.
Christ. That was stupid. Okay. Well, anyways, you can fix that in post. So, and I mentioned that I think a lot of this is going to be Steven figuring out who Mark is. And that's kind of what the phone call is to me. That was kind of Steven's first thing of like, hey, I have a lead on what's happening. And I guess that's why I found it somewhat interesting. And at least to kind of bounce off of, you liked the time displacement.
I also didn't care about answers. I was more interested in the intrigue and mystery.
See, and to me, the phone felt like an intrigue and mystery. It's so funny. The phone felt like intrigue and mystery. I agree. Didn't do shit. Didn't do anything. But I guess, like, you were saying, and I can't argue, that when he's driving the cupcake van, and then he blacks out, and then the guy is dead, and he's holding the gun and stuff, something happened.
In your defense, it is just mindless action stuff.
Nothing happened. Like, we already know that he blacks out. We already know that he blacks out and he's a baller. I already know he's Moon Knight, which is maybe a me thing.
I guess for me, it was less... I guess I say I like the intrigue and stuff, and I guess you're right that that's a bit of what the phone is, and the intrigue as far as...
It's very shallow.
The mystery as far as the blackouts are kind of the same thing. The only big changes are... He's in a completely different location. He's a badass, which happens 3 times, and then he's back in his bed. Those are like the 3 big jumps.
Yeah.
And then at one point he blacks out and he's on the bus. Maybe that's after his date. I don't remember. Oh, that's after he like freaks out in the elevator.
Oh yeah.
And that lady looks at him like he's a fucking like lunatic that might stab her when he was just like panicking. I don't know, it was weird. Anyway,
she acted a little over the top. Like I can see in the writing room, I can understand what you're doing, but as I saw it, I was just like, I mean, yeah, this guy's weird, but I wouldn't be like, this person knows I'm here, so if you murder me...
But I guess what I was getting at with the jumps, for me, I guess all I needed was, I just want to see how the situation has changed. I just want to see what's different. I don't actually care what the jumps mean. I don't care what they're leading to. I want to see that bit where he rolls his eyes back in his head and the screen flickers for a second and then something's different. And I go, ooh, what's different this time?
And you can be, it's like a
he's got a gun now. And I'm like, neat.
Spot the differences picture puzzle.
Then I'm just like, neat. And then he like blacks out again and he's driving backwards down the road. And I'm like, neat. That's all I need right now. Later, like I said, 2 episodes from now. That's not going to do it. But in the pilot, I'm just like, neat. That's all I need.
Just give me 45 jump cuts.
That's all I need.
I just want 45 1-minute jump cuts.
Anyway, what's your second put up?
My second put up is going to be, speaking of jump cuts and how stupid they were, I liked when they jump cut to the village and he like woke up and was like, my jaw's broken and people are shooting at me. That was my one, like, ooh, something's different. Something's happening and this is cool.
It's so weird that like your 2 put ups are like 2 things that I was like, meh.
You liked the village thing.
I like the cut. I like the cut. I actually did not really care when he woke up and his jaw was unhinged. And I was just like, I don't really care what's going on here.
I don't care. I didn't care that his jaw was unhinged. I only mentioned it because you mentioned it. But like, he wakes up and then people are shooting at him. And I was like, oh, like, there is tension right now.
I guess I didn't care there because they were shooting at him. And I was like, these guys are such terrible shots. And at one point, they're like 3 feet away from him. And he's just like ducking away from bullets. And I was just like, I don't care about any of this.
See, there was, at least for me, there was tension. Oscar Isaac didn't know where he was or how he got, like, things were weird and different there for me. But my put down is going to be, I don't know, maybe I'll say the trip to the... I'm going to say when he comes back, the entire sequence when he comes back, or when he wakes up in his bed after murdering everybody, and he goes to ask about his fish, and then he goes to the date, steakhouse. That was all boring, and I didn't feel like it was necessary. I understand what it was telling me.
I guess I was fine with it because I get why it's there in the show, and I get what it's doing. I have a similar problem with it, in that it was telling me information I already figured out. He was gone longer than he thought.
Yeah.
And like, I got that, but I get that the show needs to make that clear to people who aren't following, or even just clear for the sake of clarity. I get it, but I agree that I was just like, I get it. And I find it really irritating. I've said this in the past, when characters don't know information that I know, even if it's not like I'm so smart that I know, like if the characters don't know information the audience knows, it's not always true. There are several times the audience can know something the characters don't know and it's good, but I'm often annoyed when they just like stumble around and stutter and they're confused and then things have to be continuously explained to them because they just don't get it. That kind of shit bothers me.
What about the fact that Steven is also Mark and Moon Knight?
Yeah, I'm just like, dude, come on, get on my level. Read the comics, bro.
Why don't you read your comics?
My first put up is, I kind of like the setting of the show. Like, not like where it's taking place, but just like As far as the Marvel Universe goes, it feels different. It's got this weird kind of like horror-ish, like magic vibe. There's been magic in Marvel, but it's never really felt like magic.
This feels occult.
Doctor Strange doesn't feel like magic. This feels like magic, which I find interesting.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you in that as much as I said that, like, it's another Marvel show, and you're like, well, it's very different. I totally agree. I think it's different. I know I'm watching a Marvel show.
You're just jaded.
I'm jaded. Yeah, that's good. That's it. I'm just jaded. I hate it because I have to watch the crotch shot at the beginning of the Marvel Studios thing.
My second put up is going to be, I like the time displacement stuff. I think it's mostly fun, and I think it's interesting, and I think it could be utilized for more interesting things. My big thing, though, is like, honestly, I don't really know what you do without repeating yourself aside from what you already did in this. Especially, like, if we had gone longer not knowing about Mark and Moon Knight, I think we could have done a little more. Like, I don't want a 6-episode show leading up to Moon Knight. I find it so annoying when you spend the entire, like Daredevil does that, where you spend the entire season before he puts on the fucking suit for the first time. And I don't need that kind of origin shit. At the same time, though, I am interested in, like, I don't know, a secondhand superhero show. And I'm more interested in this guy who doesn't really know what's going on, slowly piecing together this superhero life. And then you finally get to see that superhero life by the end. But that's not what this is doing. So I like the time displacement stuff, but I can see it getting old very quickly. My put down is going to be, I was going to say the phone bit, but there's honestly nothing wrong with it so much as I just didn't care. I think my put down is the music.
Yeah,
I don't think the
fair.
music's very good. There's a lot of awkward music. I don't remember what
especially
any of
at
it
the
is,
beginning,
other than the Wake Me Up, but there is a couple times, I think when he's in the museum it plays something, when he's being chased by the, maybe not, maybe it's just playing instrumental stuff when he's being chased by the jackal, but I just didn't. I hated the music. It was so bad. Even the opening scene when he was like crushing the glass and sticking in his shoes, it's fucking dumb, and I just did not. The music's bad in this, and it was very distracting, and
especially at the beginning.
It set me off on the wrong foot.
Honestly, I mean, for having your put down be music, I assume because this show's fine.
The music is the most marvelly thing about it.
There's, like, in all the other stuff we've watched, I can be like, this was fucking stupid. Mm-hmm. I don't think anything was really to that point yet.
Yeah.
My honorable mention put down is that, like, I think a lot of it is a little boring and meandering and doesn't really effectively use its time. But I felt that was a little wordy. But, I mean, it's fine. It's not offensive. It's just is. And that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you like this, tell a friend. If you didn't, then lie to a friend. Check us out on Twitter at SoHowAbout. You can find me on Twitter at SethKumpf. You can find Andrew on Twitter at TessuDownist. And subscribe to us on YouTube at SoHowAbout.
And join us next time when we do this once more with Interference.
Watcher.
Seth, what are we watching next week?
I didn't cut you off. Because we're going to still be watching Moon Knight, unless we want to put up a poll. We're going to be watching Moon Knight episode number 1.2. It doesn't have an episode title yet. It doesn't have anything yet. We don't know anything about this.
Well, we know the director, who it was written by, and its original release date.
It was directed by Justin Benson, Mohammed Diab, and Aaron Moorhead. And it was written by Michael Castelline, and it was created for television by Jeremy Slater and Doug Moench.
Moench
did the characters.
Give it some Moench.
Doug Moench. It stars Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, and May Calamawy. And it's 50 minutes. And it airs April 6th. And it's coming soon. And it's action, adventure, and drama. And there's a CGI picture of Moon Knight from a video game as a photo.
Nice. What video game?
I was making a joke how the CGI is not great.
Oh.
Especially in the still shot. It's in
I
color.
saw that there is a practical suit, but it does not look practical at any point. It looks like he is a full-on CGI man.
Like I said, this looks like a video game. I'm going to send this to you so you can say, that does look like a video game. It's like I'm watching Wakanda Forever. What, I can't copy this? You kidding me? IMDb is the worst. Here's a website.
Oh wait, when you sent the website, it shows a picture. I think that picture looks fine.
Like a video game.
Sure. Sure. It looks
Here's
fine.
my question. So Moon Knight's going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after 6 hours of learning who Moon Knight is.
You say that, and I'm sure there will be a movie that he shows up in, but
I mean, it's stated. I'm reading stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I just assumed he was just a TV
In November
show character.
2019, Feige stated that after introducing Moon Knight in the series, the character will cross over to the MCU films. Why would they make a TV show if they're not going to make gangbusters in a movie theater? I'm jaded. You are the opposite of jaded. Hopeful, I think they call it.
I'm in denial.
But here's my thing. Okay, so you kill off all the Avengers after the Infinity Saga. Now you just have a weird ragtag. Like, where does Moon Knight fit into anybody else? Are we really going to get a new Avengers movie where it's like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel?
It's probably just
Strange.
going to be another movie with this time they got to fight Kang, and then the Watcher shows up and he's like, I'm going to get everybody to show up here. And then Moon Knight's going to pop out of a portal and be like a Moon Knight, and then he's just going to be in the background
Moon Knight.
shots.
I'm going to be Moon Knight all day, all night. But I'm just like, I honestly don't have a problem with just like having a TV show that does not cross over into the MCU films.
I agree. I'm sure everything will at some point, but I kind of feel like that's what Ms. Marvel... no, because Ms. Marvel's going to be in the Captain Marvels or the Marvels or whatever.
Deny all. Become jaded. This all sucks. It's all gobbledygook and sucks. Stop it. Down. God.
I still live in denial that these shows are going to be the movies that I want that take their
20
time.
years later, it's finally doing what I want it to do. Fuck.
I can't sit here and piss in the mouth of every show that comes on my TV, because then what do we get out of this? I have to be a little bit positive. But I sit down with each of these shows and I go, it's kind of doing what I want. It's kind of fun. WandaVision was really neat. It was doing something different. But then at the end, it's a big fucking CGI battle with a whole bunch of bullshit. I'm just like, I don't fucking care about any of this.
To be fair, you save it, because if you were as jaded as I was, and we just sat on here and we're just like, I hate MCU, this is dumb. We just watch episode after episode, movie after movie of dumb MCU bullshit. That's stupid. At least you can sit there and be like, I like when the time displacement happened, and I liked how Moon Knight might not, perhaps, probably, maybe not cross over to the MCU
I like
films.
how
That
Moon
would
Knight
also be
hasn't
cool.
disappointed me yet.
I like how Moon Knight hasn't disappointed me yet. Whereas I'm like, I like how they telegraphed how Moon Knight would disappoint me. I like how I made up how Moon Knight would disappoint me.
I like how there's enough other things going on that I could distract myself from all the telegraph bullshit that was going to show me how Moon Knight was going to disappoint me in 6 episodes.
I like how I didn't read the IMDb on how Kevin Feige said that Moon Knight would cross over into the films, and I could be in ignorant bliss, knowing full well that this Moon Knight was a 6-episode miniseries that would be done after that. Did you know that Moon Knight's uniform, which mimics the bandages used by mummies in funerary rites, took inspiration in Egyptian culture?
That's where I saw the thing.
You might know Egyptian culture from the ancient past. Fuck me. The world's fucked up.
Oh,